We on. What's this episode? 27? 28. 28. Just checking in.
You don't know.
I was going to say something. I don't know what it was. I can't remember what it was. Welcome back to another episode of the Murph and Mitise show.
In this next song, you must march around the room. Here we go.
Hey, I know what the fuck I'm doing. Just sit down in the chair.
We're back again. We've been doing well. We're doing very well.
We are doing regular, one a week, consistent, quality, fire.
Fire, like absolute.
Fire.
The update of the YouTube.
Yep.
That's looking sick.
Yep.
That's you.
Thank you.
We've updated. We got it on Spotify and iTunes this week.
That's you.
That's me. Right. We're getting feedback from people. That's both of us.
Yep.
Right. We got a new logo, which we talked about. That's name.
Yep.
Right. I'm feeling good with where things are at.
Things have progressed very well.
I'm feeling really good.
Even though we forgot a podcast.
Yeah, we have just put one up. So I think by the time we release this one, the other one you would have already heard the other one.
Yeah.
But it's a huge one that we did over a year and a half ago.
Do yourself a favour, go have a listen, have a laugh, enjoy a story or two or 10.
Yep.
It's very good. It's very funny. It's very enjoyable.
You're talking about the episode with Cotero House.
Cotero House.
You didn't want to say the name. I could.
What's her full name?
Maria.
Yeah.
Jose. Rojas.
That's right.
Yeah.
And your version?
Cotero Rojas.
No, the big one. It's 6 names.
Maria, Jose, Alfonso, Eduardo. What did I call it?
Go see the episode and you'll see what we're talking about.
It's sick. So so it's been good, man.
Yeah.
We've been doing some stuff. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Check that out on the YouTube. Wherever you pointed then, it's on the side there. We're doing well with that. And also iTunes and Spotify, as mentioned.
Yes.
If you haven't followed us yet, you'll get updates and whatnot when they come through, and it just helps us out with statistics and making sure that we're doing what we can for you guys.
Yeah, making sure we're delivering the right stuff that you guys want to listen to.
Yep. Speaking of, great segue. What were you talking about before, just in the kitchen?
Oh, we're getting good at these.
We are so good at these right now.
So, don't mention names? Yeah, we'll bring up names.
Yeah, bring names up.
So, one of the 36 boys, DJ Daniel Johnson, for those of you do know, number 21, big fella, come to me last week and says, a couple of weeks ago now, he says, look, I've got to ask you a question. Why do I feel stronger now, even though I'm not stronger now? And I sort of scratched my head and went, what are you talking about, man? Speak English.
Okay.
And the way he said initially didn't make sense, but he explained himself and he said, even though I'm not lifting as much weight as what I was before, so with previous strength coaches or previous teams and whatever else, I would do lots of bench press back then, lots of bench rows, lots of pull-ups, the typical gym junkie exercises, and I'd be strong. I'd be doing 120, 130 kilo bench press, I'd be bench rowing plus 100, big stuff, big exercises, big lifts, lots of weight. I can't do that anymore. But I'm on the court and I can hold myself better. I feel stronger now, even though the numbers on the paper don't show that I'm stronger.
Okay.
He said, doesn't make sense to me. What's going on? And I smiled. I gave myself a little pat on the back.
Just a little mental clap.
A mental clap.
Well done, Murph.
Because I like that. And I basically said it's because we're doing things that are translatable to your sport. We're doing things that you can take from the gym, put onto the court, and get a benefit in your performance, a peak in your performance from that exercise. So in basketball, there's at no one point you're going to lay on the floor and push weight up in the air.
Correct.
You're not going to do it. Yes, it's going to improve your shoulder, chest strength. Yes, it's going to improve your, what do we call it before, your absolute strength. Yes, all that's going to happen. But will it make you stronger for your chosen sport? Unless you're a bench press professional, no. No, it won't. So we would do things like standing cable press. We would do basically anything we would do would typically be some sort of standing exercise. Yes, in pre-season, in off-season now with the guys, I am taking them through some bench press, I'm doing that sort of stuff. Because we can do the foundational strength without any need to translate over to sport. There's no need to transition from gym to sport because there's no sport. So we can build all that stuff. We can work hypertrophy and strength. But once the pre-season comes into, especially in that second, third phase of pre-season, once this season is in, everything is standing. Because what do you do on a basketball court? You stand. You move. You're in bilateral, you're in unilateral, you're doing single arm, 2-arm, rotations, all the planes, all the patterns, they're all covered on the court. Same as on the field for your sports. So that's what we do in a gym. That's why you're stronger, because you can increase weight. Even though it doesn't show on paper as very impressive, it does translate very well to the sport. That's why you're stronger. And he's like, cool. And he walked away in a very DJ fashion.
All right. This is an abrupt end to the story. I kind of thought that might have been that's where it was going.
Yes.
But that is super cool.
That's sort of what I want to bring up today when we talk about is why do we choose the exercises that we choose compared to the typical gym junkie, gym rat exercises? Because we still see a lot of bench press. We still see a lot of bench row, a lot of pull-ups.
For athletes in sport.
For athletes in sport, yeah.
Context matters here.
Yeah, sorry. For athletes in sport, especially a multi-dimensional sport like a court sport or field sport.
Well, most sports are multi-dimensional, I'm saying.
Yep.
Except darts.
And that's not on a court or field, so I said court or field.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, it becomes very important with exercise selection becomes very important.
Yep.
So I'll pose to you, how do you choose your exercises? And I'll tell you how I choose mine.
Okay. Like, I wasn't expecting to throw out. I thought you were going to be like, here's what I do.
Alright, I'll go first.
Okay. I was going to be like, yeah, and this is going to be like, yeah, this has been just supporting you the whole episode.
Okay, let me go first and you can build it.
No, you do your thing. You do your thing.
So this is basically how I choose an exercise.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter for what sport I have, what kind of athlete I have with the sport they do.
And is this what part of the season are we talking? We're just talking in general.
So we're going to talk more sport specific.
Okay, alright, cool.
Cool. So because as I said before, in off season it's just we're doing foundational stuff. We're just
bench press.
We're doing the big exercises. We're doing things that the way I choose exercise in off season is what the players like to do.
Yep.
Because I just want them in their lifting. I want them to build strength, build hypertrophy.
Scrap that.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
I just want them in the gym doing lifts. Okay, so if they like bench press, I'll do the bench press because nothing else matters so much as then. For exercise selection for sport specific.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
You know what I do?
Talk to me.
I watch the sport.
That's a good one.
It's simple. It's not. This is not rocket surgery. This is straight.
Rocket surgery? Wow. You did have the coffee, man.
That was specific.
Rocket science or brain surgery?
Both mixed together. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, well.
I'm bringing them together.
Okay.
It's not rocket surgery or brain science. It's all mixed together here.
Okay.
And that can be the title now.
That's what it's going to be. That's going to be. Okay.
You need to understand the sport to be able to prescribe for the sport.
No.
And you don't need to understand the rules and all that sort of stuff. That's not where I'm going here. You need to understand the movement patterns of the sport. And what I would say, the ratios of the movement planes of the sport. You know, do they move more laterally on the frontal plane? Do they move more transverse plane? And with that, you can now prescribe the exercises. If you've got a sport that's very sagittal, like a sprinter, you're not going to get them to do as much rotational stuff or frontal plane stuff as you would sagittal plane stuff.
Gotcha.
That makes sense, right? For basketball, that's where I specialize. They got a lot of lateral movement, a lot of frontal plane movement. In that, the defensive slide stuff, they do have some rotational stuff, and they might grab the rebound and rip the ball away, but it's not a huge aspect of their sport. They're very short, sharp, shiny sprinters. They're not long distance. So I take all that into consideration, which is why there's no bench press, because that's not part of their sport. So basically that's what I do is if it's a sport that I'm unaware of or not so familiar with, so I'm currently training a semi-pro kickboxer, Thai kickboxer, obviously there's a lot of rotation. There's some lateral movement, there's not a lot of sagittal plane other than maybe a bit of a punch, but even that, there's a rotation in it. So I watch the sport, I'm looking on YouTube, I've looked at his own clips of his own fights. I go, okay, this is where I can see he's gone wrong, these are the biomechanics of it all. Let's put this exercise in here to improve this, let's chuck this in here to improve this, and build a program based on that. Same sort of thing for you?
Absolutely. It's really interesting because I thought a few different things when you were mentioning that. I thought you were going to go into more like how you actually prescribe from that, but it's really interesting because
we can go there.
We can go there. We got time now. No, it's really interesting because I went to watch the women's SNFLW semi-final. West Adelaide v South Adelaide, and then South Adelaide ended up winning, going towards the grand final. This was probably about 3 weeks ago. And you say about watching the sport, right? I'll show you right here. I was not expecting this, right? So this is, you just brought this up on me. Now, at the game, I was standing there just by myself, just chilling, and I wrote notes on things I'm looking at while watching the game.
Show the camera.
Right? So things that, it actually says things I look about, things that I think about while watching the game, right? And I'll read them out to you, like, you know, so exactly what you were saying. So I'm still I've been doing this for years now, and I'm still there going, all right, cool, how can I improve on some things, right? So number one, what percentage of scoring opportunities come from set shots versus run of play? All right? In the women's one, it looks like a lot more scoring opportunities come from set shots, but I haven't got the data yet, right? But that's going to determine what we're doing for stability, what we're doing for power, what type of exercise are we doing,
So
right?
a subjective measure, that's what you found.
Correct,
Yep.
right? How fast, question I was asking myself, how fast could a team break from the defensive goal line to the offensive goal line if clear of obstruction, right? So I'm not just talking one person just sprinting it. I'm talking multiple people, like as soon as you start to drop off fatigue, someone else goes and they're at their peak. You know, how quick can that transition be? And then also, same as number two, but then with obstruction.
Yep.
So getting in the way, how fast could this happen? What elements are added to the decision-making process and subsequent physical performance attribute requirements? So with someone, it was someone in the way, or obstructions coming at you, or you got to make decisions around, okay, I need to get from this goal line to that goal line as fast as I can, right? Or sequentially as fast as I can. But I've got someone trying to tackle me from the side, or I've got some obstructions in the way. What processes come in that decision-making process, and then what physical performance attributes do I also need to then upregulate to make sure that's the best? Cutting, changing direction, whatever it may be, it's stuff I'm doing already. Ladders. Right? Don't even start. I'm doing it on the ladders. Number four, I've got 5 of them. Number 4 was what percentage of time is spent per position in contact situations, executing evasive actions, and on gut-busting running. Right? Purposes, and this is specifically for the women at this point. I'm sure I could find data before, but I haven't actually gone back and analysed game data just yet. You know, and the last one in this instance was how much time is spent below shoulder height versus above shoulder height in the game, right?
What is that for the football, you think?
I don't know. It's a lot more below shoulder height because obviously a lot more ground balls, a lot more trying to catch marks and chest marks, things like that.
You don't really handball above your shoulders
No.
often, do you?
No, not too often. But then you're also getting in, say, forward positions and defensive positions, you're getting maybe a lot more above the head trying to mark it or trying to spoil someone, whatever it may be. So these are the things that I was looking at, and so funny you brought it up, like literally at the game going, all right, cool, I'm standing there, it looks like I'm just watching, but I'm going, okay, these are some questions that come up for me now that will allow me to then really specialize what I want to do next time. You know, what exercises, because I'm basically looking to reverse engineer. This is the game. Now I'm going to reverse engineer these components of the game to be able to then go, cool, we come down to an exercise now that can then be built upon to get this transition to that gameplay. You know?
Exactly right.
And that's exactly what I do.
That's what any sport-specific strength coach should be doing, is on the sidelines, wherever you are, watching the gameplay and thinking and seeing there's a breakdown. Why that happened?
Why did that happen?
There's something that's really good that's happening. How is that happening? Why is that happening? How can I bring that over here? So you should never just, be a fan, do all that sort of stuff as well. But especially if your athletes are out there, think about why are they doing these things? Why are these things happening? How are they happening? How can I do something in a gym or in a training arena to then bring it out there on the court, on the field, so they can improve that area of their job. And
this is the biggest way to improve gameplay is to be in gameplay.
Yeah.
But this is from our perspective.
Yeah.
How do we reverse engineer that?
Yeah. Obviously, we're a supplement to
correct
the coach being on the court with them, but we're also a big part of that. So, yeah, that's how we do it. Obviously, there's on top of all that watching gameplay and analyzing all that sort of stuff. There's also this individual specific stuff.
Yeah,
so
of course.
the movement mechanics of the person, previous injury history, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, we take into consideration for exercise prescription, as well as the generic history of the sport injuries.
Yep.
So typically basketball, ankles, ACLs.
Yep.
typically. So we're going to have, okay, because that's in the history of basketball, I'm going to have a bit more focus on that in my programming, looking at things like your depth drops and knee stability and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Football, that would be very similar, right?
Yeah, football, contact sport. So if you're looking at what contact injuries are, shoulders, concussions.
Yeah.
Non-contact, you're looking at, soft tissue injuries galore, ankles,
Hamstrings.
ACLs, knees, joint injuries.
Yeah.
So, and these are all things you want to take into account when you're looking at, I have a deep knowledge of this stuff, right? And a deep knowledge of, okay, how I'm going to program for that. And I've done very well, like we talked about in the, one of the previous episodes on the last 2 teams that I've trained. But then it's like, okay, well, what's the next step?
Yeah.
What's the next step? And why am I looking at how fast a team can break from there to there? Because I want to see their maximum, and then reverse engineer for the maximum.
I think it's all very well and good to prevent injuries.
Yeah.
But you want to prevent injuries while still pushing the players to their limits to increase performance.
Correct.
Because prevention of injury is obviously a huge important part of sport, but if they can't perform, there's not much point in them being out of the field anyway.
Exactly.
So yeah, I get what you mean, where you'd still need to analyse how they can be better out there, not just keeping them out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there was one thing I talked to you about in the gym the other day, about exercises for shooters that I saw. Can I just bring it up?
Yeah, I should.
I need to get it out. So talking about sports specificity, I saw...
I still love that word.
Sports specificity?
Just specificity.
You love it. I know.
love it.
It's such a good word. I've been getting into... I really like the word transmissibility. Or transmissible. Mm-hmm. It's obviously come up in relation to the times we're living in, but I love the word. Okay? Right? So this was a post that I saw come up, and it was from a respected institution, right? Or outwardly respected institution. And it was a series on exercises for shooters, and we're talking like
guns,
blah blah blah, like blah blah, pew 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 shooters, right? Okay. And I just couldn't get my head around.
And this is professional, national level shooters.
Professional. Not just like your regular American.
This is.
I like that one. That was so good.
This is we're talking about Australian professional
shooters. Like you're trying to get to the national team, trying to get to the Olympics. You're trying to take
clay shooters.
Clay shooters, whatever, right? But anyway, so I saw an exercise series. Like, what exercise would you give to shooters?
Yeah.
It just popped up. What would you give? And I was like, oh shit, okay, that's an interesting one I've never thought about as a sport. But obviously, they're gonna have demands.
They need stuff.
They hold stuff. They need to be accurate. They need to be stable. Da 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 da. So I was like,
ladders.
What would I have given? I'm a mute you fucking now. No more ladders. Right? Next 3 episodes, you can't mention ladders.
All right.
So I was like, okay, what would I give? Here's what I'll do, like a little brain exercise. And I was like, let's see what they've got going.
What'd they have? What did they prescribe?
I didn't even get past exercise 1. I couldn't.
Oh, there was more?
There was 6 exercises. I actually didn't. I was like, I saw the first one. And I was like, I'm not wasting any more time.
Could they be better after that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I'm like, there's a bar, there's a standard that's gonna be set for it.
Well, it's like anything. The first impression counts. Right?
Yeah.
So
and
your first impression was this, which was.
I'm moving on. So the first exercise that I saw, beneficial for shooters, push-ups. Like no shit, it was actual push-ups, and I was like, push-ups, and I was like, I'm gonna watch this because there's an explanation as to why this is, and it was basically like. For really good, for shoulder stability.
And core, did you say core strength or something, didn't he?
Yeah, it was core strength. It was shoulder stability number 1 and core strength. In my head, I just went, there's better exercises that you could be using. I understand shoulder stability.
Is there any benefit to a push-up for a shooter? Can we give them any benefit of the doubt, saying, you know what, I guess if you thought about it this way and squint a little bit, maybe...
Let's reverse engineer the sport.
Yes. Shall we?
Talk about what we do. Let's do it right now. Reverse engineer the sport.
Are you prone?
Well, depending. You might be standing. You might be prone. You might be laying down shooting. You might be standing up shooting.
Are they laying down shooting?
Some of them do laying down shooting. I'm not sure of the rules of the sport. Do you want me? I can check it.
Another time.
Another time. But okay, so I'm assuming they're either laying down shooting, like a sniper, right? And they get the thing out, or they're standing up shooting.
I would have figured they're standing up.
Well, let's assume they do both.
Okay, cool. So if they do both, then prone, still they're just laying on their stomach though.
Correct.
They're not really on their hands.
Right.
Is there any? So obviously they're using shoulders. They need some sort of shoulder strength because they do that recoil.
And unilateral.
Definitely unilateral.
Exercise. So one-sided only.
So in a push-up, it's bilateral. Unless you do set up a unilateral push-up, potentially you can sort of split the stance of your hands. Potentially. Is there any shoulder strength to be had in a push-up?
Yeah.
Is there any shoulder stability to be had in a push-up?
Yeah. A little bit.
A little bit. Was the push-up done correctly?
On that exercise? Fuck no, it was done wrong. So that also affected my eyeballs.
So I guess if we did a push-up as like a real beginner basic level, like, okay, you're a beginner shooter. Never shot a gun before. Could we then say push-ups are good?
Okay, to me it's like you're a beginner human. If you're a beginner human, now we're going to give you a gun, right? Yeah. So beginner human phase out,
I guess the little point I'm trying to make is these aren't beginner shooters.
No, they're not beginner shooters.
These are like, if you're at this level of this organization, you're not really a beginner.
And so I was a little bit upset by it. I was like, I seriously think, and look, cool, if this is just something you're doing generally to put out to the public, cool, but I think you can do better. You know, and what I took from it, because as you know, I look at things and I extrapolate out and I make a big picture, right? And so I go, if someone from the general public, right, let's say you're, I know if there's semi-pro shooting or you're, want to get to the level, and you're like, cool, I'm already doing this, here's where I want to go, this is what I need to be doing to get to that next level, right? And I go, but in actual fact, there's far better exercises, programming, or understanding available out there, but this is what's getting promoted by an institution that is promoted a lot.
It's well known.
Yeah. And this is what people are getting. I'm like, well, at the end of the day, it's the athletes are the ones that are going to be, like, what do you call it, detrimented by, they're not going to get the best out of it.
I think the best point you've made there was, to the point I was making before, that you could get something out of it with a push-up. There could be something you could gain from it. But the amount of effort you put into that exercise,
compared to something else,
other exercises you can get more from.
Yes.
I'm going to do it one more time. It's like using ladders.
I'm muted you.
It's like it. You can do something, you get something out of it, but there's better things you can do.
All right. I was going to say the name. I was going to say, all right. Done. I know who you are.
Done. So
I just don't think it was effective.
No, compared to other things you could definitely be doing, which is much more effective. No.
And then, so to finish the loop on what we started and what we're finishing, is why do we choose what we choose? Because compared to I would say the regular, right? I would say we do things a little bit different to the regular or the stock standard from what I've seen, right? Why do we choose? It's not just watching game footage, because the regulars, all right, the regular strength coaches or those gone through a traditional sort of sense, because obviously our upbringing, our training history and education wasn't traditional, and so they would also watch game footage, but they derive different things out of it. And so to close that loop is that why do we do these things, and why do we and how do we choose things the way we do, is because we understand a little bit deeper mechanics of movement, I would say, from the kinesiology background we've been brought up on, right? And understanding a deeper level of, okay, we're looking at joint mechanics from an intrinsic level rather than just externally what we see. Like, you can go shoulder, in the example I just gave, shoulder stability. Oh, cool, a push-up does the shoulder, so that's shoulder stability. But we're going, actually, when you're looking at the mechanics of the shoulder joint and the way that you're going to train that shoulder joint, there are far better exercises that can actually work there, whether you're working in a serratus, whether you're working rotator cuff in a different way.
We're looking at slings, not just a single isolated joint. We're looking at a holistic approach.
How does that work together? Yeah.
How does your left leg affect your right shoulder in taking a shot? And
I've been and that's a really good one. I was literally talking to, I've got some junior athletes now, so 18 to 16. I said junior, but they're up at the moment. And one of the things I'm working with one of the boys is big toe. Big toe on the right side, leading to dysfunction all through the chain. And it's just that neurological connection and how that then affects his physical performance. That's a big thing we're looking at. Actually seeing that as well. So reverse engineering it, and then to the athlete level, going through and understanding more specifically the movement and then the mechanics of that joint, and then how that then affects the next joint, and the next joint upwards of that sling, I think is very key.
Yep.
And I think it's a very good point you brought up about why is DJ stronger now on the court when previously he was stronger on paper.
Yeah.
You know, and just because we're looking at things a little bit differently and programming a little bit differently and giving exercises that may be a little bit different compared to what you may have got before from in a traditional sense.
And this is what we were talking about before in the kitchen about absolute versus relative strength.
Yeah.
His absolute strength was better before, but relatively now...
Relatively to the sport was less.
Yeah, but now, obviously, yes, he's relatively now much better, even though his absolute strength has dropped.
Yes.
And that's my goal. Like, I don't give a shit about your numbers on a gym paper. I don't care. Of course, yes, we want to see them go up, but overall, I don't really give a shit.
What it is.
As long as your numbers on the court are looking good. As long as your numbers in injuries are looking low.
As long as you're getting MVP fucking awards.
As long as you're getting club MVP awards, I'm happy.
Point up numbers.
And that's what I'm looking at as a strength coach for these athletes is low injuries, high performance, and awards, baby. Awards.
Awards, baby. You know what we're going to do? We're going to bring another strength coach on here. We're going to have a chat with him as well. We don't know who. We'll find a couple of people. We've
got a few connections there.
Yeah, we haven't done interview for a while, so we get someone out.
Yep.
We'll bring them in. We'll have a little chat. Whether they can sit on between us, like here and there.
Prop them up somewhere.
They can be like in the front. We'll work out something, but we'll get someone else on. We'll have a chat with them and see what the philosophy is and give a bit more insight because we talk a lot about what we do, you know, but we don't want to be just this echo chamber. So
yeah. And right before that, I'm going to have a drink out of my bottle, but take off my bottle lid before I do that. Just.
And to tie in, finally, I did mention that I was going to talk to you about bottle lids.
Yes.
Very, very briefly. And this extrapolates out to life in general, actually, right?
I can't wait for this.
Yeah, I know you've been. I mentioned it, and then I was like, he's going to bring it up. Shit. So the other day I was in the shops, right? And I realised I hadn't drunk a lot of water that day. And I was like, I need to go to the shops to get some water, right? So I went to shops, and I wanted to get thank you water, right? I like thank you water. The bottle feels good. I feel good when I buy it because I know where the proceeds are going. I didn't get thank you water. Don't ruin it just yet, right? So I went to get the thank you water from Woolworths. No thank you water. And I was like, shit, now I've got to make a decision of all the other fucking waters that are here, right? So I looked over the back corner. There was some Frantel, like the $1 for a litre.
Yeah.
Frantel, whatever it was, there. And I was like, alright, cool. And I was like, no, actually, I looked through it and I said, what other waters are available? And I ended up choosing, right, fancy bitch me chose fucking Evian bottle.
Which is a very good water.
It's a good water,
it's
right?
A nice high quality.
I wasn't interested in the water quality.
Sorry, Donald.
right. Like I was a little bit, but I was like, you know what? I put my additives in my shitty water anyway, so it's fine. So I wasn't interested in water quality. What made me choose the Evian bottle was exactly what made me go there for the thank you water in the first place. Was that the bottle lip is actually bigger than the Frantel bottle, right?
Wow.
So I've now paid 3.5 times as much this compared to that purely due to the size of the lip, right? Now, what am I trying to get at here?
Yeah, please.
Right. What I'm trying to get at is, I was going to basically bring it back into what we're saying is that I've paid more for an experience because with this one I'm not going to use it again. I'm gonna refill it. I'm going to keep using it, and I'm going to get the water. I'm going to get hydrated from it, whereas I wouldn't necessarily refill like a Frantel bottle because I don't enjoy the experience of the lip, right? So you can go low quality, right, and get the same thing, or you can pay a little bit more for that. That might be like 1 mil difference, 1.5 mils difference, but I pay 3 times as much.
It's pleasing to your mouth.
It's pleasing to my mouth, but it's the experience of it. I know that with that, I'm actually going to get a long-term benefit from this because I'm going to refill that bottle.
You're going to keep drinking.
I'm going to keep drinking water. I'm going to enjoy it. And so basically what I was saying is that what I was thinking about when I bought it, I was like, I've actually paid 3.5 times as much. That wasn't special. Ridiculous for water.
Everything's expensive.
Fuck me, right? I've actually paid more, and I was going to pay more for the thank you water anyway. That's normally $1.50 or $2 or whatever. But I've paid more for the long-term benefit that I'm going to get from this. I know I paid $3.50 here, but the quality that I get from that, right? And the experience that I have with that is going to be far greater than what I'll get at Frantel, which I might only have once. So the long-term benefit is going to be a lot greater. And so for me, I was like, this kind of relates to how we talked about in the last episode of, paying for an experience with someone who would look at the joint mechanics a little bit differently. You do things a little bit differently, and I do things a little bit differently, and you go, cool. The long-term benefit of paying that higher price point is a lot greater. It's the investment you're making.
Yeah.
And that's basically why I was like, talk about bottle lips, because I literally did it the other day, and it came into my mind. I was like, holy shit! Like, I've actually done exactly what I promote.
Yep.
You're gonna pay more for my services compared to what you would get from a regular. All right. But the outcome, the return on that investment is gonna be a lot greater.
Yep.
And it's something that I try and think about when I'm in session and when I'm trying to put stuff out, I'm trying to put information out or whatever, that you need to put it out in depth so people can actually seek value from it, and they're going to get long-term value from it.
Yep.
There was I finished with a little mantra that I had a while back, and it still sits with me, but a mantra that I had for myself when I was first getting into the kinesiology, holistic, nutritional side of education with people and coaching clientele. It was like, I don't want to train you for you. Like, I don't really care about the results you get, which I do, right? But I'm training you for your grandchildren. So I want to provide you education. I want to provide you understanding of what you're doing, so then you can educate your children.
The ripple effect.
And then those children can educate their children, and that's what I try and think about when I'm trying to put out information, when I'm trying to be in session with someone, is that the long-term benefit of the investment you get now is far greater than anything you would have got just being, like, the regular.
Yeah, so you want to educate your athletes, then go educate their teammates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Better safety, yeah.
Yeah, and it's that kind of effect. And that's where that came up to me. I was like, shit, I just did this, and it relates to that. So that's where that came from, bottle lips.
I'm glad I know that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Think about it.
Very good.
We'll come back soon. Thank you guys for listening. Subscribe one more time, or just in general if you haven't already. And we'll be back on another episode next week. Enjoy.